am Sedina Fiati. I am a performer, producer, creator, and activist for stage and screen. I hope to be a good friend and a good auntie and a lady about town. Happily a lady.
Lovely. So I'm doing a little documentary about the times that we're in. Basically, the times that we're in since March, and how COVID has maybe affected us, and how we approach to it, and what it makes us think, and what it makes us feel. So the first question is, what have you learned since the COVID outbreak started? Maybe about yourself, or about work, or about life, or
Yeah. I think there's been a lot of learnings for everybody. I think the main thing that I've really learned is just how busy my life was before and how much I don't want that moving forward. I think I was on such a, like I always just say, I was in such a hamster wheel, like I just went from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. And not to say that I'm still not doing that. I'd like to say that I'm not doing that. But I think I have a lot more time at home and a lot more time to myself and a lot more time to think about my choices and what I'm doing. And yeah, I think when this is all over, I definitely want a slower pace. I want to say yes to myself more often and no to like doing things just for the sake of doing things. That's been probably the biggest change. As well, another change is that I was already an activist anyway, but I really feel emboldened in this time to like stand up and say what I need, what we need as artists, as Black artists, as artists who are from underrepresented groups. I think I just felt like change would come and it would just come eventually, but I realized that change can come a lot sooner. And so, yeah, I've been sitting down and having conversations with artistic leaders, and asking them and telling them what we need and what we want and making connections between people so that we can make a better industry. That's really what I would like to see.
do you think COVID has helped in a positive way then to force some of the issues?
Definitely, I do think it has. I mean, it is spiritually, and I'm gonna just preface and say that I'm 100% like a woo kind of person. I'm about the woo. Spiritually, I actually think this is strangely an answer to many prayers. I think a lot of people have been praying for a better world, in the sense of a world that is more caring, a world that is more empathetic, a world where we really are in tune with our environment, a world where we have more time for ourselves and for our families and for our friends, that wasn't running on the hamster wheel that I even feel like I was on. And the thing is about answers to prayers is that they're not always easy. Like, it's always that saying of be careful of what you ask for. And it's not even be careful of what you ask for, but I believe that prayers are answered many times. The prayers we put out to the ancestors and to the universe, they are answered, but sometimes the answers can be difficult. They can be a time of true challenge, like a deep, deep challenge for you to be able, like on a personal level, to be able to get to a better place. And I've certainly experienced that, and I actually think the world is experiencing that. And so we're really meant to change, and I think a lot of us want to change, but I think there are various forces that are stopping that from happening, and now we really have to take the time, because unfortunately with COVID, it doesn't discriminate based on, I mean, there are some factors of who's getting it more. We can talk more about that, but still, basically, if one of us are at risk, then all of us are at risk, right? So the most vulnerable people, because we're a very internet-connected world, they are going to interact with you in some way. So if they have it, then you could get it too. So it's really important for us to take care of the most vulnerable of us. To be fair, I've always thought that. That has been the basis of my activism for so long. It's just the elimination of suffering. Like living in a place like Toronto, in a place like Canada, for me, the fact that anybody should be without a home, anybody should be without enough food to eat, without education, without proper health care, or, you know, having at least, not even at least, but having like good versions of those things. I believe every single person in this very rich country that we live in should have all of those things. And I think a lot of us believe that too. And I think it's really come to the forefront for COVID, with COVID-19, that needs to happen, you know?
During this time, have you picked up any new skills or refined any, improved on any?
I've certainly become an expert at Zoom. That's not a skill. Just as a quick funny story, at the beginning, even before COVID started, I did a Zoom interview with Millbrook, who's the CEO. He's the CEO of Canada Council. And at that point, like, I'd maybe used Zoom once or twice in my life, and this is even before the pandemic hit, before the lockdown started. And I looked at that interview and was just like, wow, I'm so not as together as I am now. Now I'm like, I have a proper ring light. I really know how to use that platform, which, to be fair, I had used before, but never really given any thought. I've really done a lot of baking.
Yes.
I've done so much baking, and that's felt really good because baking is such a hobby that I love to do. But yeah, I feel like a lot of the skills that I had in terms of activism, in terms of checking in with people, in terms of like sort of taking the community temperature and pulse, is something that has come to the forefront. It's not something that I already knew how to do that, and I've realized more and more that that's actually a really important skill of being able to connect like-minded individuals, of being able to come together and have a meeting about something that's important and take action on it. Those are all skills I had, but skills that I've like, whoa, this is actually needed right now. You know?
So you've applied those new skills.
Oh, definitely.
And put them forward.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Do you have one moment or one story that helps us to remember the time that we're in?
You know what? I'm not a person who has one story. But I have, it has been a time, like, in terms of, in May, when we saw the killing of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and actually the killing of various Indigenous folks here, it's been a time.
Yeah.
As an activist, actually, it was a time when my voice was needed, and so I have been getting a lot of requests for workshops and things like that. But you know what? A lot of people have reached out in ways that they hadn't before. I received gifts.
Yeah.
I received gifts of cheesecake, of beautiful bath bombs, of money. People have sent money to me. And that has been a huge change. And I've seen people really open their hearts in a way that I hadn't before, in terms of really trying to talk about and address anti-Black racism, and oppression in general, and I have not seen that before. Especially, I have to say, with white folks, I really feel, in terms of my activism, it's always been something that I have wanted to do, done, without even expecting compensation, to be honest.
Yeah.
But now compensation comes, and it comes because there's been a change in the spirit. People believe that this work is important for them to really look at how anti-Black racism plays out for them, and individually and in their organizations.
In terms of activism, it was on a bit of a roll in March, and I thought clearly gaining momentum. How has COVID affected that? Has it moved that momentum somewhere else, or has it dissipated, or are white folks just going to forget about it because Black lives doesn't matter because we've all got hope? Like, what's your view on that? I mean, how do you perceive it?
It is a moment in time, certainly, that one that we won't forget. It's like a defining moment of a few generations of us who are still here. People haven't forgotten. I think the activism has just become now, for those who really meant it, it's become a part of their daily life. For those who are doing the organizational change, that takes a while. So they're on that track. You know what I mean? Like, I actually think some people were already on that track, but now I feel like it's just been accelerated, So yeah, the activism continues, and what's really happened, what's been interesting for me, and what's been really exciting for me is actually the activism within the Black community, specifically the Black arts community. Like, we as artists are really coming together more than we have before to really ask for what we need and to really take our space. So because of that, the changes will be long lasting because we're not going to let up. You know what I mean? Even if folks were doing performative activism before, I think it's become clearer and clearer that that kind of activism, or that kind of like gesture toward but not really deep, is not going to cut it anymore. I think we're all activated, you know what I mean, in a particular way. So it's like we're going to keep doing the work. Like, I'm working on at least two different groups of Black artists on initiatives, one within live performance and one within media. And we've seen the creation of the Black Screen Office as an example. I want to create and be a part of creating with a group of people a Black service organization specifically for artists, like a Black Arts Service organization. In addition to, I'm working on a pledge specifically for a Black pledge for live performance. And so those types of things we see, as much as we're like, even as a Black person, I'm like, okay, I need to seize this moment. I also know that like it needs to be long-lasting change. You know what I mean? We need to continue to build upon the foundations that have existed already to build something that's like real. So yeah, white folks, some of them may come and go, but we're not going anywhere. You know, we were doing it before, and we're going to keep doing it now.
If you're an activist, you're always going to be an activist.
Oh yeah, no,
you're not going to
away.
suddenly stop.
No. Once you've been changed, it's like, you know, there's that cheesy. It's become cheesy, but this idea of being woke. You know what I mean? Like, what does that mean? Yeah. But to be fair, like, it is a really apt metaphor in terms of like, once you're awake, you know, you can't go back to sleep.
No. Were there any dark moments during this time for you? And how did you work through them?
You know, it hasn't been easy. Personally, though, like, I'm coming off of a time that has not been easy.
Yeah.
Like, my whole life hasn't been easy.
Yeah.
But I found a lot of help in, like, I was doing therapy before, but now I've just switched. So I'm like doing therapy like on video conference. So I see my therapist twice a month, and I did like a coaching group to deal with my ADHD. We all need people.
Yeah.
I think it's just a spectrum of like how much people time we can handle, and I need a lot of people time. I don't know about the extrovert introversion spectrum. Yeah. I feel like, to be honest, I'm smack dab in the middle of it. Like I can go either way. Yeah. However, I do need people, so I do need to talk to people and share with them. And so yeah, I've gone on so many Zoom group calls for different reasons. I've hopped on them. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Black women meeting because of this, artists meeting because of that. Like, let's do it. Like, classes, I've done so many, and I've really, that's the way that I found community during this time.
Right.
But yeah, I've definitely been stepping up, like, in terms of, like, you know, there's some habits, like, I'm, in addition to, like, admittedly being, like, a blue person, I'm 100% a self-help kind of person. I'm about it, habits since I was a teenager, so there's certainly been a list of habits that I've been trying to address, and so, like, I feel like now it's a good time to address them, so I've been trying to do my gratitude journals, and, yeah, there's been a lot of screen time, there's been too much, so I've really been trying to curb that, you know, like, after certain hours, just like, okay, I'm just gonna cut it off, and wash the dishes, and chill.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been reaching out certainly to friends, some of whom have been isolated, you know, because they're single. I live with my partner, so but yeah, therapy has been so helpful right now, and it's been a time actually because there's been a lot going on, but also there's still a lot of time to ourselves. So I feel like actually it means that certain things that maybe I was pushing down before, like bubbling up to the surface more than they have. So yeah, we get through. I'm the kind of person who, like, gets through, though. That's me. I don't know if it's healthy, but it's true. Like, I'll just cry and keep going. Like, that's who I am. But that's my personality. That's like how I move through the world, and for
Right.
other people, I know it's good for them to
Right.
like retreat. You know what I mean? Maybe they don't want to talk as much, but still try to find like that balance of like, okay, I have some human contact. You know?
Did you think you came out with any resolutions or determinations you're going to try something new out of this time that we've had?
Yeah. On the fun side, I just want to learn how to ice a cake. That's it's been important. So I bought some stuff from Amazon. I want to get back to my sewing. I
Yeah.
have an unopened sewing machine
Yeah.
box.
Yeah.
Maybe pick up skating. We bought skates too, and there's
Ooh.
a skating rink not far.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, I am constantly a dreamer and a visioner and like self-helper. So like it wouldn't have mattered. I'm like always on that kick.
Right.
It just is not okay. So it's just actually just easier. You know what I mean in terms of like, oh, okay, I can do a Zoom coaching
Yes.
instead of like trying to figure out how to meet someone in person and all that jazz. Like okay, it's like completely feasible to do things over video conference, and so that just cuts off. That
Right.
just removes a barrier, you know,
Right.
to being able to hop on the bandwagon. But yes, like if there's there's a coaching, there's a therapy thing, there's a book.
Yeah.
I will read it. I will do it. So I've had several, like,
Yeah.
but I find too, as much as I'm such a visionary, there's probably a few habits that I want to break and a few dreams that I've had for a while, like that I just actually need to jump into. So it's as much as I'm like, oh, I'm all over the place. I actually realize there's the same themes that come up over and over again for me that I'm always trying to address.
So in some ways, this is giving you time to figure that out.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
it totally has. Just more time and more
Yeah.
space to be able to like
Yeah.
read and listen to one more self-help book.
Right. Why not? So where do you see yourself in the summer, 6 months from now?
Oh,
Where
God.
are we? Tell me what you see.
Yeah, well, I'm working on a project called Switch, and so we are in the Summer Works Festival. So I see that like it's going to happen because it's outside.
Yeah.
Hence,
Yeah.
we were chosen by Summer Works, so it's great. I made me back at Children's Piece Theatre directing. I've done
Yeah.
that for the last 2 summers. Last summer we actually directed on Zoom. We did the camp on Zoom, which
Yeah.
was beautiful. Actually, it was a huge challenge to figure that out. How we're going to engage, children from the ages of like 7 to like 13 on Zoom. So, but we figured it out, and they did it. They showed up, and that for me is a triumph. And so yeah, I'm back at Children's Piece Theatre, and otherwise, yeah, like I'm also at Nightwood Theatre this year as the
Yeah.
artistic director intern, and so yeah, my life kind of continues as it did. I'm working on a web series, so I got a lot of projects, and I haven't stopped doing them. There's always just something to be done, and I guess as you can tell at this point, like I'm just such a busybody person that like I feel like something would really have to happen for me to stop doing things.
Yeah.
I'd have to be like sick, which is fair. Everyone can get sick at some point, so it's all good. But like that would have to stop me. Like something serious really would, because otherwise I'm just gonna keep going.
Right.
But yeah, internally I actually feel a lot stronger because I've had time to really think through issues and really work through things in therapy, and I feel a lot stronger. And even as a Black artist, as a Black woman, and just realizing how many great things I've got going for me, and how I need and want to really sit in that strength. And I think that that's something that has really transformed for me over COVID.
Well, thank you for your time.
Oh, you're welcome.
This
Thanks
is
for
a
having
lovely
me.
interview.